Good afternoon. Today's consumers are fully engaged in the world of digital commerce. These shoppers are driving the mobile revolution and searching, browsing, and buying in whole new ways. It is the ICFA's pleasure to bring you the latest in our series of educational webinars entitled Social Shopping, Creating Harmony Between Website and Social Media. And in the next hour, we will define the basics of social commerce, highlight the biggest social players, outline website and social goals, and walk you through a real-world plan to get yourself inspired. We're fortunate today to be joined by Richard Sexton, the Chief Product Officer for MicroD, a leader in integrated online product presentation, websites, e-commerce, and EDI solutions for the home furnishings industry. Richard brings over 20 years experience in retail and digital technology, which began at a local art and furniture gallery in Charlotte, North Carolina in the mid-90s. This business went online, became an internet retail technology within the home furnishing sector. He has then helped other companies with their e-commerce and digital strategies, specializing in website usability, conversion rates, and SEO. In his most recent role prior to joining MicroD, he was the Vice President of Member Engagement at AAA Carolinas, where he optimized membership growth and retention through digital innovation. He's been featured at various industry conferences and is the author of a variety of industry and e-commerce publications. He holds a Master's of Management degree from the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University. Please join me as we welcome Richard to begin our webinar.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It sounds like you're talking like another person with that introduction, but I do appreciate that, and thank you all for attending. I hope to wrap up a lot of kind of misperceptions in terms of social media, social shopping, and how that should synchronize with your website. We don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to dive right into it. That looks exactly like me, except a little more gray in the beard. But as mentioned, I've got about 20 years experience in furniture retailing, e-commerce, user experience, and user-facing technologies and social media. So, but I was a retailer, at heart a retailer, so I certainly appreciate your challenges, the business climate and environment you face, and kind of the proliferation of social media opportunities and understanding how that fits together with your overall digital strategy. It can be very, very confusing and very alarming, and kind of leave you wondering where to start. So what we're going to focus on, kind of the big four. We're going to focus on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, and YouTube. What's interesting is that, this is from eMarketer, but that by spending as little as 1 hour a day, most of you probably work 6 days a week, but an hour a day, more or less, you're going to see almost a 70% benefit with your social media efforts. In other words, it does produce results. You have to think of collectively of social media as kind of an integral part of your digital presence. You have your website, which is obviously kind of the basis, and then you have your email and your outreach campaigns, and then social media is kind of that third pillar. But these are the ones that we're going to focus on: Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, and YouTube. Why? Well, first, we are fortunate with the casual furnishings industry, or the home furnishings industry. We're a very visual product, right? We've got these beautiful product shots. We've got videos of room scenes. We've got this great digital library to draw from our manufacturers and from our in-store experience. So we've got all of this great visual content that we can use. So in terms of where marketers are most interested, Facebook and Instagram are certainly at the top of the list, with YouTube close by. LinkedIn and Twitter are certainly important. They're great for all sorts of B2B applications, some B2C facing applications, but they're not as visual. And when we talk about harmonizing your website content with your social media strategies, we really want to focus in on kind of the visual and how that pulls in visitors from those channels. So we're going to put those to the side. Pinterest we are certainly going to take a look at, and Snapchat is another one that we will mention, but that's not one we're going to focus on necessarily. When we talk about our overall objectives of social platforms, there are really three objectives that you can distill it down to. The first being general awareness, right? What's your brand awareness? Do people know your brand name? Do they know your store name or the name of your the brands that you carry? Having a really kind of a penetration into your local market. When we talk about reach, that's kind of your brand awareness within your local trading area. And frequency. How often are you posting? How often are you reaching out to people within your community? So awareness is kind of that base level. That's the foundation that everything builds on. Without brand awareness, particularly in an industry with a high dollar ticket per item, you've got to have some type of brand affinity before that conversion process begins. And the second step in that, of course, is engagement. Engagement, on the next slide I'll show some more specific metrics, but engagement we can equate to the action that people take both on social and on your digital properties, on your website. So that could be website clicks, it could be video views, it could be the amount of feedback, Q&A, questions you get posted, the frequency of that, and amplification. When we talk about amplification, that's your social followers reposting your content and pushing it out to their own social circles. That's really important because it helps you kind of leverage one single message across many other potential customers, potential visitors. So amplification is one of those measurements that we really want to pay attention to, because that's kind of a gauge of your own success. And that's certainly one of our primary objectives of your social platform, is amplification. And conversion, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be an e-commerce site. And when we say conversion, we mean either people buying something on your website, or it could be form completion, a request for more information, or a request for a quote. It could be a call for a quote, or it could be an in-store visit. Typically in the e-commerce world, when we talk about conversion, we mean website conversions, but in the broader sense, it's really that action that you get a potential customer to do. So in the case of a store that doesn't have an e-commerce site but wants to drive local traffic, that could be measured as an in-store visit. So there are lots of different ways that we can view a conversion. But social shopping and commerce is really only successful after committing to brand awareness and engagement. Conversion kind of builds on those two pillars. So we kind of progress from brand awareness to engagement. And again, we talk about conversions. I mentioned some other examples, but that could be lead generation. It could be catalog sales, right? If you're true omni-channel and you have a print catalog, using your social media channels to drive traffic to your catalog could be very important. That could be your overall objective. It could be traffic to your site, of course. Re-engagement is very important in that you are taking past customers or people who have expressed an interest in your business and pulling them back in with some type of campaign. Reach is, as I mentioned before, that's kind of your ability to reach out to your local community and within your trading area. So that's very important for brick and mortar stores, as is obviously store visits. And video views is just another metric. But these are all things that when we talk about conversions, these are different actions that we can define. And when we look at content on social platforms themselves, these don't add up to 100% because one piece of content can have several aspects. You could have a blog with a video embedded, but just in terms of how it breaks out in the type of content, certainly visual images are most important. And again, as a store that has a catalog of manufacturers that's got a beautifully decorated physical presence, you can use visuals quite effectively. So it really plays to our advantage. Blog posting is the second most popular video, and live video is becoming much more popular with like Facebook Live Sometimes, in the furniture industry and casual living industry, that live video may not have quite the impact unless you're demonstrating a product, but certainly video itself is very effective, and podcasts, people still do podcasts. So let's focus on Facebook first. Facebook, the numbers are so huge, it's almost meaningless, but almost 80% of online adults use Facebook daily, spending about 24 minutes a day. 2 billion users worldwide. So like I said, it's hard to get your mind around those kind of numbers. What you can kind of understand is that the amount of time spent per day is rising. The number of minutes that people spend online and online on Facebook in particular is rising. Facebook is very appropriate for kind of the older demographic that we serve. Not to ignore millennials, and I'll get into that, but it is really important for that older demographic. So Facebook is highly personalized, right? And in that sense, and it's really important to focus on driving conversions around your brand. Your brand name, your brand recognition. You really want to take your existing audience, your followers, your fans, your customers, and turn them into your brand advocate influencers who will share your message across their personal network. But Facebook is intensely personal. I think all we have to do is look at the last election to understand how intensely personal it is. People are very, very connected to Facebook. And these are a few examples of why people are connected to Facebook. It's important to understand that in that your messaging and your content has to kind of sync up with these objectives. So you need to be very kind of non-salesy in your approach to Facebook. Your content on Facebook should be that content that you've got on your site that is reflective of your brand and your store personality. So these are some of the different kind of motivators, sharing life events, expressing oneself, keeping in touch, expressing an opinion, offering support for a cause. So you can see they're very intensely personal reasons. So in that sense, your approach to your Facebook content and your Facebook advertising has got to kind of sync up with those. So really, my recommendation on Facebook is really it should be focusing on brand awareness and engagement, right? Getting people to like your Facebook page, because once you do that, you can build an advertising campaign around those people that have engaged with you, and then you can drive them to your site via a series of ads, which I'm going to give a few examples of these ads. But Facebook is really good for that baseline engagement, building a community. So, for example, one way to harmonize that content between your website and Facebook is your About Us page. That's your most personal page where you can talk about your history, the owners, the people who work there. That's really where you want to take that content and repost it and reposition it within Facebook. And then you can work on driving traffic to your web and creating conversions. Again, that conversion may be somebody walking into your store. It depends on how you've got your website kind of positioned, but that's really kind of the impact. There are many advertising options on Facebook. That could be at least one seminar by itself. What's really great about Facebook advertising is that you can actually define your marketing objectives. So this is a screenshot from the Facebook ad console. You can see you've got awareness, consideration, and conversion. That's exactly what we defined as our overall objectives of social media. So they've kind of laid it out quite nicely there for you to allow you to spend your money. But under awareness, you've got brand awareness and reach. Those are two things that we just defined, right? And under consideration, we've got traffic, engagement, app install. So if your objective is to have someone download an app, there's a whole marketing campaign you can create through Facebook for that specific objective. Video views and lead generation if you want people to fill out a form or sign up for an email. So it's very targeted. You can go into Facebook and just Google types of Facebook advertising and you'll come to this help page. but there are many, like I said, there are many types. You've got sponsored posts, you've got carousel ads, video ads. There's something called a canvas ad, which is for mobile only, and dynamic product ads if your objective is product sales. So it's really important to understand like all these different types, but just stay with one or two that that are in sync with the objectives that you have for your website. You don't want to have on any of these social channels. You don't want to have a different experience on social than what your website is conveying, because that creates this kind of dissonance. They don't know what your personality is, what your brand is. So it's really important to pull that kind of uniformity in messaging and look and feel, whether it's Facebook or Pinterest or any other social channel. So a couple of tips with regards to Facebook. If your objective is to maximize engagement, like I said, a great idea is to repurpose manufacturer information. As an authorized retailer, you have access to a library of content, and I just recommend that you kind of pour through that content as much as possible. Use it not only on your site, but on your social channels. Another great idea is to highlight employee stories. People love stories about other people. It's just our instinct. So highlighting employee stories is just a great way of creating that kind of connection, as well as design services and focusing on other customers. That's a great way to create that bond. You can use these carousel ads and video ads to promote in-store specials. It doesn't have to be completely promotional, but it's a great way if you've got sales coming up, or you've got new collections, or you've got some in-store event. That's a great way to generate interest. In fact, they have a whole ad campaign set up just for events. If you go into the Facebook advertising console, they'll give you suggestions on how to create events, and you simply fill out this form within the advertising console, and that will create your ad. So you can also use Facebook retargeting, which serves ads on Facebook for your site to people who have visited your site. So if they're on Facebook and they've been on your site, retargeting allows them to see your ads there within Facebook, either within the news feed or to the right console. But it's a great way of kind of keeping your presence of mind, particularly if you're in that first stage of building brand awareness. Another thing to consider is that Facebook is a great way to amplify. And when we talk about gamifying your social presence, that just means like giving incentives for people to share out to their own social circles via social rewards. That could be, here's $5 off for sharing this post. Or it could be purchase sharing, where somebody's bought something online from you, and you incentivize them, you give them some type of discount. It doesn't always have to be a discount, but you create some type of incentive for them to share online. Most social sharing for e-commerce occurs post-purchase, so that's really a great way of getting your name out and having your customers share to their friends. Or another way is refer a friend, where you just create an incentive for them to give you an email address of their friend, and if they both purchase, then they get that incentive. And there are contests and giveaways that all have to be within kind of the terms and conditions of Facebook. But again, that's a great, gamifying is a great way to get people excited about sharing out your content, and it could point directly to your site. And another suggestion is, if you don't have an obvious place to repurpose your social content on your site, then create a blog. It doesn't have to be embedded within your site. It could be a WordPress blog or a Blogger blog. That's Google's product. But create a blog, and you can take that content from your social channels and kind of plunk it in there and tie it into your site. And that's one way of creating that connectivity. But I do recommend whatever direction you go, that you set up a schedule for creating this content and pushing it out. That's really important. Otherwise, you're going to have very kind of inconsistent posting, and once people see that you are an infrequent poster, they kind of lose interest because they don't think that it's current. So it's really important you create a schedule for that. So I'm going to move on to Pinterest now, and Pinterest is really interesting because it's much more kind of product oriented and product focused. Pinterest is you create boards of your interest. It's a product feed of all these images. You create a board. So in my case, it might be triathlon bikes, or it might be backyard waterfalls, or any of these other things that I'm interested in. You create this board, and then you pin different images to that board. And your objective as a retailer is to get other Pinterest users to take your images and pin them to their boards and share it out, or better yet, to follow you. So creating that harmony between Pinterest and your website really focuses on the product content itself, because it's much more product oriented. And it does lend itself well to direct monetization of social posts. You can create a buyable pin or promoted pin and direct that either to your site or to within Pinterest for a transaction that stays within the Pinterest platform. So quickly looking at advertising, because with Pinterest, creating, like I said, creating a harmony between your website and Pinterest is much more of a product focus. And you do want to have a Pinterest business account. So you can convert, and Pinterest will usually prompt you for that, but you can convert to a business account. And when you do that, you get access to certain analytics, and you can qualify for having the buyable pin functionality. But this is an example. You see backyard waterfall. So this is one of my Pinterest boards, and there's a promoted post by the Home Depot selling some equipment to build your own backyard landscaping, a backyard waterfall, and aquatic landscaping. So this is a promoted pin. I saved it to my board because I like it, and that's going to live there. And at any point, I can click through on that, and I will go to that particular page. And it doesn't have to be a product page on your site. It could be a category page. It could be a blog post about how to build a backyard waterfall, or what are the best plants for a backyard pond. So it's up to you where you want it to go. But promoted pins and it could also be a video, can direct that user back to your site. But again, it's very product focused within Pinterest. So it's a great way to raise brand awareness, but really it's focusing in on the products themselves. If they don't know who you are, but they see a product they really like, that product is going to matter more on Pinterest. I mentioned buyable pins. Not everyone qualifies for buyable pins. It kind of depends on what platform you're on, but buyable pins allow that transaction to occur within Pinterest itself, and you can create campaigns based on seasonality or promotions, or just opportunistic promotions that you have. It's a great way to get people to engage and transact within Pinterest if they don't want to go to another site and they just want to live there within Pinterest. And there are plenty who do. With 31 million users, it's extremely compelling. Again, not all merchants qualify for buyable pins, but it is worth exploring. So looking at Pinterest tips, it's really important that you repurpose your visual product catalog with your best product shots. And they should be arranged vertically because Pinterest is a mobile-first application. You can post to Pinterest on desktop, but it's really kind of kludgy and difficult. So I'm sure 99.9% of users on Pinterest are using their mobile device. But do create a vertical image. And you can also Google, best tips for Pinterest images, and you'll get lots of blog posts there in terms of helpful hints. But you do want to take your best product shots and create, as I mentioned earlier, create a schedule. These are some social scheduling and listening tools: Hootsuite, Buffer, Sprout, Spreadfast, Sprinkler. Some are free, some are not, but these are tools you can use to post your content on a regular schedule for any of these social channels. But really focus on the product initially. Outdoor Casual's got some beautiful product shots. So you can take multiple images of the same product and create different pins of that same product. That's fine. Or you can create a carousel of images for a single pin. But use that digital asset that you have. And then once you've kind of established a baseline, you can look at if you've got a way to show let's say a chaise lounge that has a particularly nice action. You could show that as a video pin and include people in that. But again, focusing in on the product, you'll see in this example there are no people. Obviously, with fashion, you're going to show it on a model. And then you want to encourage customers to upload images of your products, either in the showroom floor or in their homes, tagging you or creating a board with your store name on it. That's a great way of creating kind of a viral pin or a viral board. So just remember, board is a collection of pins, but either can be shared. But that's a great way of kind of creating that amplification that we talked about earlier with Facebook. One other thing I wanted to mention on Pinterest. Pinterest has this great application called Pinterest Lens. So if you have the Pinterest application, if you take a picture of a product through Pinterest Lens, you can match products within the Pinterest application using visual search, which is it's really fun. If you've got a product, if a customer has a product and they don't know exactly where it came from, they can take a picture of it and it will match it with pins using this visual matching algorithm. It's a lot of fun to play around with, but that's something that Pinterest has kind of piloted, and it's a really engaging tool. So I want to move on to Instagram. Instagram really has a growing user base. I'm going to jump out of the presentation really quickly to show you an article that came up. This was just yesterday. U.S. teens will turn to Facebook less often as a shift to Instagram and Snapchat. This was yesterday. Now, fortunately for Facebook, they own Instagram. They bought them in 2012, but it does show the power of Instagram. I could tell you my own teenage daughter lives in Instagram. She wouldn't think of going on Facebook. Pinterest is kind of okay, but she lives in Instagram. That is really their preferred platform. Instagram was designed as mobile first, so you can't upload from a laptop. You can, but it's very, very difficult. But it is really mobile first, and the content and the advertising is kind of what we call a native ad format, meaning it's very hard to distinguish the advertising from the actual posts within Instagram, just because of the format. But it also makes it very kind of acceptable to users. They don't think much about seeing an Instagram ad because it's embedded within the content. It's highly visual, though, whereas Pinterest is kind of focused on a particular product. Instagram allows for a lot more creativity. They've got filters. They've got different methods of positioning photos, and it's really kind of it's a very visual medium, and it's has more female users than male, which can certainly fit the shopping demographic. And I think most importantly is that its acceptance by millennials and its growing use by millennials. Millennials are going to own homes. They do have jobs. They are going to buy furniture indoor and out. We're not driving off a cliff with millennials. So I think it's really important that they get focus on as a buying group, and Instagram is their social channel of choice. So you can see just over the last year or so the increasing use of Instagram, probably coming at the cost of Facebook, but again, they own them. So that's really significant. It's a great way to target that younger demographic. Instagram does have this function called Stories, and this is kind of mimicking Snapchat functionality, where you've got videos you can post and they disappear after 24 hours, or you can message them to people and it will disappear after they're viewed. I only mention this in that this is part of their whole engagement strategy with younger users. So it's important to understand that Instagram is really focused on that user, but you can have promoted posts within Instagram. You can have photo and video ads and carousel ads. So that's a great way of kind of, like I said, it's a native ad format, so it's embedded within the feed itself. I want to give just two quick examples. So in this case, we have a company called Article. Now these are both indoor furniture, but still it's across kind of the home furnishings industry. But Article launched his campaign using link ads, video ads, and carousel ads, and they targeted their own audience, their own custom audience, people who they've done business with in the past, like uploading an email list or customer list, and then they created a lookalike audience, so targeting all those Instagram users who look like their current customers. And just using this simple technique and this beautiful kind of imagery, they had a 5-time return on ad spend. So they featured their furniture in kind of unusual settings like indoor furniture, outdoors in the middle of a field, or places you wouldn't expect. But that was very successful. And another example is this company Parachute, making bedding. But again, you can see very, very sort of visual, artistic design. They targeted kind of men and women aged 18 to 54, and they really kind of created this this experience. So they use a combination of video and carousel ads, sort of using authentic living environments, and they had a almost a 4-time return on ad spend. So very, very effective for the home furnishings industry. There's another way to advertise within Instagram, and that is via a platform called Curate. So in this lower left-hand corner, you see OmniView Commerce. That's a demo site that we set up, but you see that first line there is called the bio, right? There's only one link that you're allowed on Instagram, and typically people just direct it to their homepage, but you get one link. With Curate, you can take all those images on your Instagram and create a gallery. So on the right-hand side, you see click an image to shop. This is a gallery created with those images that either you as a retailer have posted or your customers have posted. So it's a great way of taking that content, pulling it onto a gallery page. Looks like it's an Instagram, but it's actually not. But there's lots of large retailers like J.Crew or a few others that kind of use this. I think Pottery Barn Kids uses it as well, Crate and Barrel. But anyway, so you've got this gallery, and you can take that gallery and then create links to the product pages on your website. So it's a great way of syncing that those products from your website to Instagram is by using this platform, this functionality. So it's really kind of a innovative way of making that connection in a non-intrusive way. And this can link to categories, it can link to content pages or specific products. But we think it's really worth looking at. So again, there's only a few ways to link out to your website from Curate, and that's from Instagram, and that is Curate within the bio link and sponsored ads. Again, I recommend you set it up to reach out to millennials, and you can use, since it's owned by Facebook, you can use all of their demographic and segmentation data. And I mentioned earlier custom audiences, so you can create audiences and target them based on your current customers, and you can pull that from your website data, or you can pull that from your CRM system. Lastly, I want to quickly cover YouTube. So YouTube, 30 million visitors a day. Again, the numbers are pretty fantastic. 180 million users in the U.S. But a surprisingly small number of small businesses use YouTube. But it's really, really important because YouTube is the second most used search engine as a direct source of answering queries. So when you go into Google, and YouTube is owned by Google, so when you go into Google and you say, how do I clean an umbrella, an outdoor umbrella? And this is an actual example I want to give you very quickly here. Bear with me. There we go. Okay, so in here you see this is how do I clean an umbrella. Sorry, it's not cooperating. There we go. So this is a Google result. The question was, how do I clean an outdoor umbrella? You see this is called a featured snippet. This is not paid advertising. So if you can answer that question with the content on your website, we're getting a little bit into SEO here, but when we talk about YouTube, it's really important as an SEO component that you've got that content on YouTube, because you see here the second result is how to clean your patio umbrella, and it's a YouTube post. It's pulling directly from YouTube. So it's really important as an SEO play that you've got content on YouTube that answers questions. This section up here is from, again, it's called a featured snippet or answer box, but this is pulled directly from on-site content, written content. But then that video content is the second or third search result. So it's really important that you post content onto YouTube that answers questions, not just manufacturer information, which is helpful, but all of your expertise needs to be on YouTube. And that's a great way of syncing up between your website, the expertise you're trying to convey on your website, and the YouTube channel itself. And I want to show this example as well in terms of how you can build out a YouTube presence. This is Sunnyland Outdoor Furniture. Retailer, I think they're in Texas. But this is a great example of how they've created this brand identity on YouTube. So you really want to focus on having that consistency between your on-site branding and your YouTube branding. So they've used their logo, they've used images from their website, and they've created this library of content on YouTube that is helpful. Some of it's self-promotional, but some of it is explaining about different suppliers that they have. So this is a great way, again, of creating that consistency between the two sites and creating that engagement. So I think that's a good example of what you can do with that. There are lots of different formats available for YouTube advertising, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, having gone on YouTube. But you can certainly take advantage of that through your Google AdWords console. One idea is to use YouTube as your library for all your video content. Now, it will be in a YouTube format, but if you can take all of your assorted videos, whether it's manufacturer videos that you have permission to repurpose or in-store videos, it could be TV advertising that you've done, but take all those videos and use YouTube as your repository. Now, again, it is going to be in a YouTube format, but then you can take that video and organize it on your own site, pulling it into specific areas. So, for example, your About Us page on your site is a great area to put in kind of a general video. It could be funny. It could be, it could tell the story or the history of your store, but to pull that back into your site on the About Us page. Or you could take manufacturer videos that you've posted on YouTube and organized on YouTube and pull them into manufacturer pages, or do a room shot with your video and of a particular, it could be poolside furniture, it could be patio furniture, it could be recycled plastic furniture, whatever the category is, but create that video of that product category and then post that on YouTube and then embed that on your website. It's a lot easier than you would imagine. So you really want to use that as a central library and, again, create that library of knowledge so that you can appear in search results. But make sure it's consistent. Make sure you build it out according to your best practices, according to your expertise, using your own footage wherever you can, and manufacture videos if available. So, and YouTube really, again, as a way of answering the question, as a way of showing your expertise, building brand awareness and engagement, I think it's really significant for all of those functions. So that is a very quick overview, but hopefully this has helped with kind of giving a fundamental understanding of how we can synchronize between our websites and our social properties and some strategies.